Hello. I get pretty excited about home remedies because they're simple, they're inexpensive, and they're very effective. And in addition to all of that, they're extremely safe. It's an unusual thing for someone to get hurt by a home remedy, especially if they use those simple things that are just about the home at all times, such things as pots and cloths and water and heat and cold. So if you like to study about home remedies and like to learn some new uses for some old things, then we invite you to stay with us for this program.
The following program presents principles designed to promote good health and is not intended to take the place of personalized professional care. The opinions and ideas expressed are those of the speaker. Viewers are encouraged to draw their own conclusions about the information presented. Welcome to Help Yourself to Health with Dr. Agatha Thrash of UG Pines Institute. And now, here's your host, Dr. Thrash.
Not the least of the benefits of home remedies is the extreme safety of them. For instance, herbs. Herbal remedies are incredibly safe for the most part. There are a few that have some side effects, but almost all the side effects that an herb can have, the drug that you might use to substitute for the herb might have a lot more and a lot more serious effects on the human body. So if you do use herbs, the important thing is to learn those that are safe and are effective, and just stay with those that you know about. Now, herbs don't make up a large part of what we talk about, but some things that might be classified as herbs are such things as charcoal. That can be called an herb. But then we can use mild things like catnip tea and Valerian root and a wide variety of other herbs. So I like the herbs as well. They are what could be called a home remedy. There are many home remedies that require devices, such devices as a blender or a mixer or a double boiler or a slow cooker. These are also things that may be used in home remedies. And today I would like to show you a number of these things that we have learned through the years can be helpful, can be very useful in the making of the home remedies. And so I'd like to start with some simple things that might be helpful for, say, a kidney stone. And for a kidney stone discussion, I will ask my son, Cal Thrash, to join me here so that we can tell about a personal experience. Cal, welcome to the program.
Good day, thank you.
Happy that you could be here today. And I'd like to talk a bit about this device. I think it may have been this very device that we used when we were treating your kidney stones.
I was going to say, why were you going to ask me about a kidney stone? Maybe because I've had personal experience with it.
Yes, we have treated a kidney stone for some time for you. And I'd like to ask you, what do you remember about a kidney stone as the worst experience?
Oh, it's the pain.
The pain.
By all means. In fact, the first day that I really knew that I had a kidney stone, I didn't know what was happening. I was talking with someone else. We were looking at estimating a building, standing there, and as he talked, I felt myself bending over, and pretty soon I was down here like this, and I said, "You carry on, I think I'm going to go now." And you could not find a comfortable position no matter what. It was
You twist to the left and you twist to the right?
It didn't matter. You sit down, stand up. In fact, the only thing that I could do was just to kind of pace back and forth like in this kind of position. Lying down didn't work. Standing up didn't really feel good. It was miserable.
Yes, it's a miserable thing. In fact, I have spoken with women who have both had a kidney stone and a baby, and they say that the stone is by far the worst of the...
That's what I've heard.
Yes.
I've only experienced one of those, of course.
A woman would never choose to have the pain of a baby a second time,
right.
But far be it from her to choose a second time for a kidney stone.
Oh, yes.
Now, when we learned that you had a kidney stone, we had it diagnosed by a urologist downtown. And do you remember what he said to me?
He said you'll never pass that stone. It's too big. It's not gonna work. And so we're going to have to do something, probably try to go up with a basket and snare it, or perhaps push it back into the kidney and go for lithotripsy.
Yes.
And the lithotripsy, of course, being at that time about $10,000. And
Yeah.
my wife said, well, I think you can stand a lot of pain for $10,000, and so that wasn't done.
Well, considering the fact that the stone was big enough that the urologist, after he had studied your case, said that this stone is too big to pass, and then he said it's too big and too far up to snare with a basket.
That's right.
So his only treatment was lithotripsy.
That's right.
And so you said, well, let's try for a while with some simple remedies.
Right.
So let's see if we can remember the number of herbs that you used. I remember stone root.
Stone root,
gravel
gravel
root,
root,
and
there was
marshmallow root.
marshmallow root, and I believe licorice root.
And
There may have been one or two others that I can't remember off the top of my head, but those were the main ones.
I remember at one time when you were having a good bit of pain that we tried some rather offbeat things. One thing was a magnet. Do you remember that?
That's true.
One man came to Uchee Pines and he said, have you ever tried a magnet for pain? No. Well, they're using it up at Warm Springs Foundation, you know, which is the Roosevelt Foundation for polio.
Right.
Before polio sort of played out. Then it became a foundation for the treatment of just skeletal diseases. So we thought, well, if they're using it at Warm Springs Foundation, that's a really very steady, mainstream, investigative type of organization. If they're using it there, it must be pretty good. So we used a magnet for you. Do you remember if that helped?
I couldn't really say if it helped too much. To me, it seemed like it did, but it's very difficult to say. I can say that the thing that probably helped the quickest and almost the most consistently was a very hot bath that affected the area where the pain was, which of course is generally speaking in your back. And the idea here, of course, is not the same kind of thing that we try to do with a hot half bath, which is to try to raise the temperature. The idea is to relax the smooth muscle to relieve the pressure on the kidney, because the kidney wasn't designed to hold the urine. It was another organ for that, and so it makes a considerable amount of pain when that constricts there, and then you end up getting pressure there on the ureter. And so what we did, and I remember that it was a nurse anesthetist that told me about this treatment. It was very effective to try to hang out of the bathtub as much as you can, but put that area, just of the area of your back that really hurt the worst, into the hot water as hot as you could stand it, and remain there for an hour. And you have to kind of hang out of the bathtub to stay in the hot water as hot as you can stand it for an hour, because it's pretty hot.
You get the sweating, I'm pretty sure, even with
very hot.
even hanging out of the bathtub.
Now the point is that within about 10 minutes you'll begin to feel better. In fact, you'll think, hey, the pain is subsiding, I think I can get out now. Don't do that. You may need to get out to urinate, because you will feel like you need to urinate pretty quickly as soon as the pressure begins to relieve around the stone a little bit.
And the urine that has collected up above the stone passes down into the bladder.
Right.
Then you'll begin to feel as if you need to urinate.
Right, but as soon as you get finished, go right back into the hot bath. If you don't, you're looking for more pain, perhaps even a trip to the hospital, where it may not work as well the second time as it did the first time. So don't get out when you start feeling a little better. Make sure you stick with it for the whole hour.
Yes, I love the hot half bath. It's useful for so many things. It's useful for the flu and colds and all sorts of skeletal problems. And as we've just heard, it's good for kidney stone. Now, just briefly, I'd like to explain what we did with this. I don't think this helped at all, but somebody told us, now if you'll use a vibrator on the back, just over the place where the major portion of the pain is, that will help. So we dutifully did that. And I remember that you drank about 2 quarts of water within about half an hour.
I was going to say there was a little bit of preparation that was necessary before the massage took place. We did I think about as much water as I've ever had to drink in my whole life,
Yes.
all in one sitting.
Yes.
Seems like it was something to the tune of about 4 liters or maybe more than that. I can't remember. As much as I could get down was what we tried to do.
Within an hour you had more than a gallon.
And we had really pumped the water in, and then, of course, then tried with the...
And another thing that we did was magnesium sulfate, and that is very helpful. That magnesium sulfate will relax smooth muscle, that's Epsom salts. And then we use this vibrator. I don't really think it did any good, but it's held on the back, and the stone is supposed to vibrate down the ureter and pass out into the bladder. So some remedies that you hear about for a kidney stone may be good, and some may not be so good. But you may want to try every one, except the one that we think really helped Cal the most, and that was the one on New Year's Day, wasn't it?
That's right, on New Year's Day.
A friend of yours came to visit, I remember.
Right, big burly guy.
Big fella. And he said, you're such a little twerp, I could just turn you upside down and shake you.
That's right, and he did.
And he did?
He turned me on my head and tickled my feet a little bit and wrenched around a little bit, and almost immediately I felt like I need to go to the bathroom and pass that stone almost immediately.
Yes, I remember you called me and said, Mom, what would you like as a New Year's Day present? And I said, nothing could please me more than to see your stone.
Right.
He said, well, I'll show it to you.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. And it was an unusual looking little thing, too.
Yes, it was. It was barbed.
Little
and
burrs all over it.
Yeah, burrs over it. So I can see why the urologist said it would never pass. It was too large.
Yeah, but thank God it did.
Yes, we certainly were very grateful for that.
Right.
Okay, you have anything else you'd like to talk about?
Well, I thought I'd talk a little bit about a sore throat. You know, we had talked about charcoal before. One thing that I like that's very effective for sore throats when you're just beginning to get a cold is to use a zinc lozenge. And as long as you can use the sugar-free variety and keep it on in your mouth, they say only to use one maybe every few hours, but if you can stand the little bit of stomach upset that comes with zinc, it's good to keep it bathed, to keep your throat bathed with that zinc for quite a little while. And I've actually been able to fight off a sore throat and a cold just with that alone. And of course, being careful not to be more chilled and to make sure I'm not eating anything that has any more sugar in it. All of those things being something that would make you have more likelihood to have a cold, which is not what you want to do when you're just coming down with a sore throat.
Precisely.
But one thing that is helpful if you do have a sore throat and it doesn't seem to be going away, to help fight the pain and actually to help with the with taking up some of the viruses that are present there, is to use the charcoal tablet. You have to use these old-fashioned variety that we have at Uchee Pines. The new ones that have come out are designed to dissolve very quickly, and so they don't actually have the lozenge effect, but these are hard enough that they will dissolve slowly and bathe the throat with the charcoal, which of course is what you're trying to do, and it really does relieve the pain quite well.
Well, this kind of tablet could just fit behind a tooth, couldn't it?
It could.
Okay, very good. Well, I like this. I like that treatment for a sore throat. Do you ever do anything else for a sore throat? The zinc lozenge, the charcoal lozenge. Do you ever do a gargle?
We have recommended gargles in the past. Quite honestly, they don't work as well on me as they have on other people.
Okay, now I wanted you to mention that, because not every remedy that we say for one person is going to work for everybody.
That's true.
And so you have to pick and choose what you're going to use and find out those remedies that are the best for you.
Now, of course, you wouldn't want to leave the subject of sore throat without talking about the heating compress a little bit.
The heating compress is very good. The cold cloth, then the plastic wrap, and then a bandage to hold it on.
Right.
Yes, we talk about these, we tell about these in our books on natural remedies and home remedies, both of which can be obtained from an ordinary bookstore or from our bookstore at Uchee Pines. Thank you so much for joining us today on the program. Now I'd like to have another of my assistants to join me, Dr. Don Miller. And Dr. Miller has a wide experience in treating people not only in this country but in various parts of the world. Uchee Pines sends him to the far-flung recesses of the world. Dr. Miller, what have you learned let's say about soybeans?
Oh, I've learned one really important thing.
What is that?
It's become my favorite food.
Yes, and it's a good food to eat. It's good to the taste. Is there any other reason why you like it so much?
First, let me recommend to people how best to eat these things. Green soybeans, steamed with a little bit of salt. It's one of the most fantastic flavors. I ran into this in Japan. Now, Japan, one of the longest lived people. They live for a long time there, a very healthy bunch of people, and they eat a lot of soy. Soy has many good products inside, or many good phytochemicals inside this tiny little white bean. Now let me say this, sometimes it's what we take in to replace something else that's our benefit. This has both of the benefits. Because many people, they eat a lot, drink a lot of milk. Well, if you drink soy milk, it's replacing dairy milk.
Yes.
We know that there's 5 things that predispose to prostate cancer. Meat, milk, eggs, cheese, and being overweight.
Yes.
The first 4 leads to number 5.
Yes.
All 5 lead to prostate problems, whether it's going to be prostate cancer or just an enlarged prostate. And so we find that if you take something like soy and as a replacement, it's making soy milk, which is an extremely good food, it's going to give you the replacement factor, plus there are the phytochemicals in there. One of them is genistein. This has an angiogenesis factor. All tumors, when you start developing a tumor, if it gets large enough, has to have a blood supply. That's called angiogenesis. And it starts building. We've got these little growth factors in our body that causes us to build a blood network. And this is a good thing. If you're working out with weights, you're building more muscle mass, your body builds more blood capillaries to feed those muscles. Same thing with the tumor. As the tumor grows, we get this growth of the network of capillaries, but this genistein in the soybeans stops that process.
Anti-angiogenesis factor.
Right, and that's extremely important.
Yes, it is. Now, about soybeans, you mentioned about milk being extremely good. It's very nourishing. What would you say if I told you that I liked commercial soy milks, and the sweeter the better?
Well, there's a few problems with commercial soy milks. You read the ingredients and they look pretty good. For the most part, they are totally vegan, and that is good. But there's that one thing down there called carrageenan. And that is from a seaweed, but this acts as a glue, and it's not the most healthy thing in the body either. And so I would rather make my own with just soy.
And then, of course, the sugar and the purified protein derivatives and other things. Generally speaking, it's better to make your own soy milk. And the soy milk makers, such as you can see here, a soy milk maker can be obtained now, I think, for under $100. And if you use soy milk a lot, it's money well spent.
The nice thing about your soy milk makers is once you've made the milk, what's left over? What do you call that?
That's called the okara.
Okara looks like okra.
Yeah. And you can use that in so many ways. You can use it in breads and waffles and stews.
We've got a Japanese woman at UT Pines who is a marvel with things, and she can make pies out of this okara.
Oh, yes. And another thing that our cook at UT Pines, who is Japanese and does wonders with foods, she has these soybeans that she gets from the Asian markets that are still in the shell, and it ends with mami. Do you remember the name of that?
No, I don't.
I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's a conversation piece in this country. So you just take a handful and put that on a little plate and serve that to people either hot or cold, and they are absolutely delightful.
Oh, they make me big bags when I'm traveling in Japan because they know that this is, it's sort of got a, if you liked cheese, back when you used to eat cheese, it's got a sort of a cheesy flavor and almost a cheesy consistency.
Yes.
And you just sit there and bite, I just bite them and just squeeze them off my mouth.
It's the way that people eat them, whether they open them up or whether they pop them into the mouth by the little process of pulling the pod. But at any rate, it's soy I like very much.
Yes.
Appreciate your telling us about soy.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, there are many other remedies that we can talk about, not just, and soy has so many good remedies, anti-cancer, anti-osteoporosis, anti-prostate enlargement, anti-breast cancer, so many good remedies. Even if a person already has osteoporosis and they take a lot of soy products, just as little as quarter cup of cooked soybeans per day, that can be so beneficial for osteoporosis that has already developed. Now, I have asked Rhonda Clark to join me today.
Hello.
And I can see by what you have that you have some remedies to show us.
Yes, I have a remedy that involves a snorkel, of all things.
I like the snorkeling in the ocean.
Well, this is a snorkeling in a basin, and it's one of the best treatments for relieving sinus pressure and congestion.
Good.
And I've asked our assistant, Miss Ariana Hartsfield, to come and join me today. We're going to be demonstrating a treatment known...
Come right up in here.
Yes, thanks, Ariana. A treatment known as a facial contrast bath. The principle behind this treatment is to put hot and cold alternating water over the entire face, submerging all these sinus areas and the nasal passageways in the water to help relieve congestion, bring an influx of circulation to the area to help fight the infection. And because the treatment takes a little longer period of time than what one can hold their breath, we use a snorkel. Now, Ariana will demonstrate how this works for us, and I wanted to show some of the equipment in addition to the snorkel that we use for this treatment. On the table here I have placed 2 basins, and at home you need nice deep basins or pots. You might even have a sink that's deep enough that you can put your face clear down in. You want the water not to cover the ears, but to cover over the chin, up to the bottom of the ears, around the forehead, the entire face. You'll need one for very hot water, as hot as you can take it on the face. The other will be cold water. In fact, it's nice to have some ice cubes floating around in there to make a nice contrast between the two. You may notice that I have also handily kept a box of Kleenex nearby. As this treatment goes along, you will start having secretions coming from your nose and sinuses, so it's nice to have some Kleenex handy, and then, of course, a towel for finishing the treatment. If Ariana will put this snorkel in the mouth. The snorkels are easily obtained at any department store. I paid just $5 for this at a local department store. There's a place that you bite with your teeth and the lips come over just as Ariana is demonstrating. And this is just to keep breathing through the mouth during the treatment. You begin in the basin with the hot water, and you'll see Ariana will dip her face clear down into the hot water.
Very nice.
She's breathing through the snorkel. And she will want to stay in the hot water for about 3 minutes. And it really goes by quickly. Next, then, she will want to, without drying off her face or anything, move right over into the ice water. And as her assistant, while she's in the ice water, I'll be adding a little more hot water to the basin. She'll only be in the ice water for 30 seconds, then she'll switch back over into the hot. And as she's back in the hot, I will go ahead and add maybe a couple more ice cubes to the cold. We'll do 5 rotations, maybe more, depending on how congested the sinuses are, how much pain she has. Someone said they always do 7 rotations because 7 is the perfect number, and there's nothing wrong with 7 rotations. Then to finish, just have them lift their head a little over the basin. They actually will be over the cold ice water basin as they finish. Lift their head up just a little bit. They can remove the snorkel and set it down, and you're drip, drip, dripping. So here's a towel, and we'll pat your face. And it's amazing how the secretions will begin to flow. And you did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, thanks so much, Ms. Ari. And the relief of the pressure and tension in the sinuses is just incredible. This also can help clear up an infection of the sinuses because of the stimulation that it does for the immune system in that area. And I'm really excited to share that with you today.
Yes, thank you so much. I like this treatment very much.
Yes.
The thing that's so good is that the entire sinus system can be treated all at one time.
Yes.
Now, I like this treatment because it is a treatment for glaucoma. But there are other ways that you can work with glaucoma. Do you know some of these other ways that you'd like to share?
I do. One thing that's interesting about glaucoma, I found this fascinating. When you're drinking water, and it's very important to drink water, When you have glaucoma, you should be sure to drink it in sips over the course of the day rather than in large amounts at once. In one study, they found that individuals who drank a quart of water over 30 minutes, which isn't an especially fast rate for many of us who try to keep plenty of water going in, there was an increase in the intraocular pressure.
What do you know?
Very surprising.
Do you know if it also increases blood pressure to drink a lot of water at one time? Did they say anything about that?
They didn't. And that sounds like an interesting possibility.
We should do a study about that at UT Pines.
Sounds very good.
Well, thank you so much.
Sure.
Appreciate your being on the program today.
Very glad to be here. Thank you.
Now, there are some other things that I think should be in our home health kit, and besides some of these that I have mentioned, and one is a simple magnifying glass so that splinters and little lesions can be examined carefully, and one can carefully look over the toenails and fingernails to see if anything may be growing in some place that it shouldn't grow. And if we have some kind of mole or other kind of facial lesion or lesion on the hands, one may need to have someone look at some of these lesions to see if they look as if they're threatening. Now, another thing that I use a lot is cayenne extract, and you can purchase this commercially with a product named Heat. Heat doesn't cost a lot, but it has a little applicator which is very nice, and this has cayenne and a number of other medicinal things in it, and it can be rubbed on places where there are chronically painful areas such as chronic backaches and chronic knee aches and the bottoms of the foot when a person has plantar fasciitis. Now, you can make your own, but it isn't as nice as having something like this that you can commercially get for just a little. There is also a tube of Zostrix or other cayenne extract which you can purchase at a pharmacy that can also be used for the very same things. It seems that these commercial things are a little more handy than just putting cayenne pepper in some rubbing alcohol and dipping a cotton swab on it, in it, and using that for the back pain or the knee pain or the plantar fasciitis. Maybe it's those things we buy and have to pay money for. They may be more effective. I like to have this kind of device. It's just a scrubber for the back for people who have trouble relaxing before they go to bed. And if they just scratch the back all over with such a device as this, it will often cause them to relax. And if you got a backache, it can help a backache a bit. And often people can sleep who otherwise might not be able to sleep. May the Lord bless you with more simple remedies even than these.